No, so this first sentence is just background information. So we're saying a recently passed law, because like, can you really argue with what a recently passed law does? A recently passed law requires that all places of public accommodation to eliminate discrimination against persons with disabilities by removing all barriers to accessibility. This is just background information. It's just a fact.
Okay. So therefore, trying to address a premise.
Yeah, so then we say, therefore, private schools are legally obligated to make their campuses physically accessible to persons with disability. So that's our conclusion. We know that this is a sufficient assumption question because it says the conclusion above, so our conclusion follows logically if which of the following is assumed. So what premise do we have to add to this to guarantee our conclusion? So I want you to think about this and predict an answer. What premise could we add that would guarantee that private schools are legally obligated to make their campuses physically accessible to persons with disabilities?
Since all law requires public spaces, then private school must make campuses physically accessible to persons with disabilities.
What must be true about the private schools?
What must be true that they have to make their campuses accessible?
No, that's our conclusion. What must be true of private schools that would guarantee this? If the private schools are what? What does the law require of who?
To eliminate discrimination.
For who though?
Against persons with disabilities.
No, but who has to do it? Who has to follow this law? What places?
Private schools, all places. Public accommodations.
Yes, that must be true of private schools then. Or what could we say about private schools that would guarantee this?
They don't have to accommodate it?
No, we're saying that they do. But okay, let's take a step back. So our conclusion is that private schools are legally obligated to follow this law.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no reason that private schools have to right now. So we need to add something that guarantees that private schools need to follow this law. Well, what could we say about private schools that would guarantee that they have to follow this law? That private schools are what?
Private schools are a public space?
Yeah. Because if private schools are a place of public accommodation, then they must follow this law, right?
Yeah.
This arguer is assuming that private schools are a public accommodation, but they don't say it. They have to say it for us to know.
Okay.
So go ahead and get these answer choices and let me know what you think.
The conclusion?
Absolutely. And it's exactly what we predicted. Private schools are places of public accommodation, because if we add this to our argument, then our conclusion becomes 100% rock solid, because we're connecting our premise to the conclusion by adding that in.
Perfect. I'm gonna need to work on